Today we need to talk about, well, we don't need to talk about it, but I need to talk about it. Karmic debt. Yes, karmic debt. Karma is an incredible thing because it is there whether or not you believe in it. It is like air and oxygen. It is like cause and effect. It is like using a credit card without paying attention and the bills racking up. Karma is a kind of currency in the afterlife. And spiritual people, when they incarnate, they realize they have karma, right? So just like in life, you have a certain amount of wealth. Let's say family wealth. And let's say you have your own personal wealth, your own net worth. Because a lot of times the nature of our physical world is based on the nature of our spiritual world. So quite often we see this replication that it's different, but they share some similarities. So you talk about, when we talk about graduation, right? Graduating Earth. There are we have a school system based on different grades and based on different specialities and based on different curriculums. And there's colleges and there's trade schools and there's universities. So that is actually based on the higher dimensional system of this graduation from this particular incarnation, that this is a school. So you go to grade school, and then you go to college, and you go to trade school, and you go to medical school. So Earth is a kind of school. And we find some evidence of that in our school system. We share this schooling system. So it's not by chance, it's not an accident, it's not a human invention. There's actually a connection to schooling and to this spiritual graduation. So karma has some connection to currency. Now, money in the contemporary sense has been distorted and is a control mechanism, but it has some value, this currency. It's a distortion of this karmic currency. So karma, you are born with a certain amount of karma. And that might be based on a previous life. If you've reincarnated multiple times, you have a certain karmic wealth. If you are a complete newbie, and there are newbies, then you're basically, you have a clean slate. You have a pretty clean slate. And you may go through experiences where you always keep your karma clean, right? So that when you reincarnate, you have a moderate amount of karma and no debt. You're debt-free. You have a good karmic score. So it's not true that everyone reincarnates with debt. What's happened over the years and centuries is that the world has been turned upside down. It's been distorted. It's been polluted, corrupted, right? The world has been corrupted. Up is down, down is up, right? And we've talked about that before. So that when someone incarnates into this upside down world, they tend to do the wrong things because the value systems are all mixed up, or they're all backwards. And then we watch movies and listen to songs and listen to our corrupt leaders, and we become completely lost and distorted. And that's why at middle age, people are reborn, they have a spiritual awakening, they find religion, they find a new path, they find their spirituality, and they realize that they've lived all these years wrong, right? They've lived it wrong. So that's that awakening process. So imagine now that you're aware of karma now, today. You don't have to wait till your middle age and your diseases and you're on your second divorce and you're trying to find a new job. Let's say today you start to take advantage of some of this knowledge, such as karma. Karma is one concept. So you have karmic debt. Now let's say you probably incarnated with karmic debt. And the idea is if you do what you're supposed to do according to why you came, you alleviate this debt. Now, maybe when I say debt, people don't understand it. When I say karma, people don't understand it. And the system is designed so that you don't see this stuff because it gets in the way of your experience. The system wants to give you an honest experience. So the system gives you a choice, and when you make the wrong choice or the right choice, it's an authentic choice because you don't know what's behind it. Unfortunately, I think that doesn't work because we tend to make the wrong choices because we have been given the wrong information. Information has been suppressed. Information has been distorted to benefit the few. So when you incarnate, you may incarnate into a traumatic life. You may have a difficult family. You may be challenged yourself with a particular disease or a condition. Or you may lose a parent when you were young. Or you may be, you may go through a traumatic experience like a molestation. Now, on the surface, these are traumatic, these are catastrophes, these are family tragedies, these are whatever you want to call them. They're terrible things on the surface. But if karmically you came with a certain amount of debt, or you chose a certain difficult life so that you could pay off a larger amount of debt. So you see where I'm going with this, right? The sun is changing here. Okay. How's that? Now, if you came here with a certain amount of debt, maybe it's better in the shade. If you came here with a certain amount of debt, and that needed to be paid off, the system doesn't say you're in debt. There's no karmic credit card. There's no way to go to the karma center and find out how much karma you have or how much karma you came with. But you look at your life and you evaluate, right, your life, and you say, well, I had a trauma at this age, I have certain life situations. My life is a piece of crap. I can relate. So on the surface you say, well, I have a terrible life. And your friends say, she or he's got a lot of bad luck. And it's a tragedy. But on a deeper level, that might be telling you that you came with a certain amount of karmic debt. And that living through that karmic debt is a necessity. So, now this stuff can get misinterpreted. I think people can distort this information. I'm not saying you have to suffer, because you can improve your life. right? So let's add on this school thing. The system says, we bring you here to learn, and we give you these circumstances to learn. If you can learn, if you can overcome, then you will have learned the lesson, and you can move on to another lesson. So karma could be a lesson. So a difficult situation could be an opportunity for you to learn something, to overcome one of your challenges, and then to improve your life. So, maybe this is complex, but I think it's important to start talking about it. In other words, by improving your life situation, it requires you to understand things, and it requires you to grow spiritually and to become a better person. It requires you to improve, to learn, which is the basis of your arrival. So by learning, you are paying off the karmic debt. Because what is karmic debt? What is karmic debt? Karmic debt means you didn't learn something. It means you got a failing grade in something, and you have to retake that course, right? That's karmic debt. Like you abused someone, but you don't know why you abused them. You can't admit that you're an abusive person. That's karmic debt. It's one of many forms of karmic debt. So you may live your whole life thinking you're not abusive, and everybody knows you're abusive. Now that karmic debt will carry through because you have not cleared it up. If you realize you're an abusive person and you go through the process of redeeming yourself or improving, removing that character trait, that fallible trait, then you remove that debt. I am an abusive person, and I've been abusive all my life, and I have done terrible things. You alleviate that debt, and you get a chance to move forward. So karmic debt, so you may know you have karmic debt based on the kind of family situation you were born into, the type of economic situation you were born into, even the country situation you were born into, the culture. You were born in a particular culture. So that is a connection, that is a compilation of your intended experience, why you came here, and what debt you have. So it's a combination. You say, well, I have so much debt, and that buys me this experience. And I say, well, the guy says, well, I'd rather have, I'd rather grow up with the billionaire family. Yeah, but you got too much karmic debt. But I'll tell you what, you go in this life and you go through your, you go through your traumas and your experiences, and you learn. And if you learn fast enough, you can become a billionaire in this life. If not, if you refuse, if you're the victim, you're going to have to wait. Right? So there is an opportunity to improve. But most people don't realize that the challenges in their life is connected to their necessity to learn, right? It's connected to why they came here. Because the system doesn't teach us. What I'm saying, the system doesn't teach us. And if you get into religion, it's a whole different thing. My thing is not religion. My work, what I call my thinking, my philosophy here, I call it reality science. This is based on the science of reality. the closest thing I can relate it to is spirituality. But it's a system, and it's a scientific system, and so it doesn't get into religious and indoctrination. You don't have to wear a big hat and a dress. The system, so karma is a currency. It's a currency, right? It's like an energy. It's like an energy that you accumulate and you can remove. And you can use this karma. The idea is in order to graduate, you have to alleviate the karmic debt. Right? You go to school, you can't have failing grades. And if you have good grades, it means you learn. If you have failing grades, you have debt. You don't have enough credits. You don't have enough credits, you can't graduate. So in life, if you have too much karmic debt, if you owe too much money on your credit card, you can't buy that new car, right? And you can ask your parents for money, you can steal money, but it doesn't change your spending behavior. It doesn't change the way you use money. So the idea is, as you progress through your lives, the idea is to know that you have karmic debt, and you want to have positive karma. You want to have good karma. You want to generate good karma. Everything you do generates karma. Everything you think generates karma. The thought can affect your karma, not just your deed. If you want to hurt somebody, you've now generated negative karma. If you always want to hurt somebody, even you don't do it, you've now generated all this karmic debt that you're not aware of. So you kind of know your karmic situation by the kind of life you have. And that may be different from the kind of life you want to have. You can also by learning about karma, you can improve your life by paying off karma. So karma is extremely let me just check it. Karma is extremely important. The idea is you want to pay back karma. So you may be here because you're paying back. You may be here because you're paying back some bad karma. That might be the only reason you're here. Once you pay back the bad karma, you're off to somewhere else, right? Finally, let's add one little thing to it, because I don't think most people won't add this. I always try to add it, that there are people who understand what I'm saying to a very high degree. You might call them magicians. You might call them something else. So what they can do is they can trip up your karma. They can interrupt your karma. And they can do this by causing tragedy or misfortune in your life. And that affects how you understand life. That affects your path. So for example, it is my understanding that a magician, a capable magician, can cause someone to be raped by influencing the rapist, right? So what that means is that the act of the rape is unnatural. It may not have been scheduled. You weren't supposed to be raped, but there was this interference. Now, we've talked about this before. and it goes into magic, manipulation, right? If you can see the future of somebody, you can interrupt it, right? So you see somebody walking down the street, they're going to get to the other side. If you trip them, they won't get to the other side in time. So there are these bad players who may even cause misfortune. They could cause a disease. They could cause an illness to become more serious. So you could have, so these now are unnatural, unscheduled. So you come here with a certain mindset and your karma's good. And then the magician hits you. Now the problem is, we don't talk about this stuff. That's the problem. But the key is how you react is very important. So let's say a tragedy happens and you become angry, miserable, depressed. Now your whole life changes, right? Right? Your whole life has changed. If you have a disease and you let it overcome you, you might think you're going to die. You might end up in a wheelchair. You might start taking too many drugs and become a drug addict. So you see what I mean? So an interference can have a detrimental effect, even though that wasn't scheduled. So now it wasn't scheduled. These things happen. The idea is how you react to it. That's why the goal is always overcome, overcome, overcome. Try not to change your path because of a tragedy, a trauma, or a crisis. It may or may not have been scheduled. Something lighter might happen. Let's say you came down and you're going to meet somebody who you would marry. Let's say the magician manipulated things and made you fall in love with the wrong person. And let's say the person who you're supposed to fall in love with, they come see you and you say, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. Because your eyes on somebody else. And then let's say you marry that person, the wrong person, based on this interference. Now your life path has been shifted. So you may be doing the best you can, but you may have taken a wrong turn. And it may take many years to realize that, and many more years to change that. But then you'll always be bitter, you'll always be regretful, you'll always, you know what I mean? And that was the intent. The intent is, if there is interference, the intent is to take you off the path, so that at the end of your life, you don't graduate. That's what it goes back to what I'm talking about. The system has been corrupted in many ways. Magic is more difficult to understand and explain. And if you don't understand it, I can't explain it. But some of you do understand. Don't try to take it too far. Don't become paranoid. Understand that things can be influenced. That's not to say abandon everything. Never do anything drastic, right? You want to carefully fix your life. Adjust small adjustments. And you'll never get everything anyway. So you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. You're never gonna get it all. You're never gonna see it all. But that's why I think these kinds of discussions are important, because even there's one thing you see, that's one step closer. Because if you come here, let's say, to be a teacher of this esoteric knowledge, and then you get distracted and you're not teaching, then people don't have a chance to learn this stuff, right? Or you start talking about aliens all the time, aliens and Pleiadians, the Pleiadians, when you should be talking about karma and reincarnation, right? You're doing the wrong thing. So, some people come here to teach, and they're not teaching the right thing because they're talking about the wrong thing. Because they were distracted. They were interfered. They were intercepted. Pleiadians are real. Oh, yes. I won't talk about karma and reincarnation because that's too important. I will talk about things that don't exist. Pleiadians, I believe. So we'll try to have more of these kinds of discussions. I realize for most people, it may not be appealing, but they are important. Karmic debt. Be aware of it. Careful what you think, careful what you say, careful what you do, because it does have an influence. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say, wait. Don't go. Don't go yet. Let's say I accumulate a lot of debt and I have a family, and then I die, pass on. My debt passes on to my family, to my children, maybe to my spouse. And it depends on sometimes even close associates, but definitely to the children. Now you think I'm gonna go, I got all this debt, I can't pay it, I ain't gonna pay it, I'm gonna do it. Then you go, and then you pass it on to your children. Because it doesn't disappear. It doesn't get wiped off. The other problem with that, so that's one problem, you burden your children. The other problem is, because you are spiritually connected to your children, you may go on the other side, but you won't go anywhere. You will be trapped here until the children have paid off the karmic debt. This is my understanding. I can't prove it. No, not yet. So that you die with karmic debt, it passes on to your children, you go, but you don't go anywhere, you're going to be stuck in limbo until your children have removed your karmic debt, because they're doing the job for you. But you're going to have to be coming back, helping them. Which means, what I'm saying is, you can't graduate if you have debt passed on to your kids. You won't be able to go. You'll be just going to be stuck in a room somewhere until it's paid off. If you don't help them, your children will have children, and they will have to get rid of it until it's paid. It has to be paid. And once they're paid, then you'll be free. Now, that's a bigger discussion. Karmic debt, it's important.